The next strategy we're going to look at is adjustment, and we'll look at some variations of it as well. And that's where you add 0. So you're going to add and subtract the same number, and I'll show you exactly how that works. Here we have 57 plus 84. So this goes hand in hand with working with groups of 10. It's a lot easier to work with multiples of 10. So I'm going to show you how adjustment can work with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 57 and I want to bump it up to a 60. It's a multiple of 10. Again, they're easier to work with. So to go from 57 to 60, I need to add 3. But I cannot just willy-nilly add 3, so what I need to do is also subtract 3. There's that idea of adding 0. So I'm going to add the 3 to the 57, subtract the 3 from the 84. When all is said and done, I'm adding 0. So I'm not changing what I'm actually adding here. I'm just putting these numbers in an easier to add format. So 57 plus 3 is 60. And then we have plus 84 minus 3, which is 81. 60 plus 81 is 141. We can do the same thing with the second one here. We have 83 minus 48. In this case, you do need to be very careful because of this minus. The minus is going to change things a little bit. So when we're subtracting, it's easier if that number that we're subtracting is a multiple of 10. So what I want to do is I want to bump this 48 to a 50. So I'm going to rewrite this, at least the second part of it, as minus 48 plus 2. So that's going to give me a minus 50. Now, because of this minus in front of my parentheses here, what I've really done is I've subtracted 2 because that negative is going to distribute, right? So this is really a minus 2. So what I need to do to the 83 is add 2. So at first glance, this one looks like I'm adding 2 twice. So it looks like I'm adding 4. But again, because of this minus in front of the parentheses, I'm really adding 0, which we're allowed to do. So I now have 85 minus 50, or 35. And again, the idea with these is that you're working them in your head. I'm writing them down for example's sake, and I'm going very slowly to explain them. But the idea is that if you find a few of these tips that work for you, you'll be able to do them quickly in your head. So the next one here, we have 286 plus 347. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take that 286 and turn it into a 300. So to do that, I need to add 14. Since ultimately I want to add 0, I need to do a minus 14 with that 347. So this gives me 300 plus 333, or 633 for the answer. Now the next 3, we're going to look at multiplication and then division. So I'm going to show you some tips and tricks for these as well. For the first one here, we have 493 times 7. So in this case, I'm going to use a strategy that I used in the first video. The 493, I'm going to rewrite that as 500 minus 7. And then we're multiplying that by 7. So using the distributive property, I have 500 times 7, which is 3,500, minus 7 times 7, which is 49, which leaves me with 3,451. And that's much easier than trying to calculate 493 times 7 in your head. We're going to do something very similar here with part E. I have 2,646 divided by 9. Now this one might be a little trickier because you may not see how I'm going to break this down initially, but 2,646 is the same thing as 2,700 minus 54. And you might think to yourself, well, what's special about 2,754? Well, they're both divisible by 9. So I'm going to use that distributive property, but this time I'm dividing. So I'm going to take 2,700 and divide it by 9. That gives me 300. Minus 54 divided by 9, which is 6. So my answer here is 294. And I will admit that one is a little bit more of a stretch maybe than some of the others. That one may not come as naturally to some. And then the last one. The last one is probably the trickiest of all because there is going to be a remainder here. So what I'm going to do with this 639, I'm going to break it down as 630 because I can divide that by 7. Plus 7, I can divide that by 7. Plus 2, there's my remainder. So same process as before. 630 divided by 7 is 90. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 2 divided by 7, there's our remainder. So we have a remainder of 2. So our answer is going to be 91 with a remainder of 2.